The NFL provides the highest quality of football that can be found anywhere on planet Earth, bar none. Yet, even in that context, it's a fact that not every single game is the football equivalent of a work of art. This stems from the fact that there have been some very bad football teams throughout the years, and on occasion, they face off against each other. Well, we're going to be looking at those games today as we count down the 10 lowest quality matchups of the entire Super Bowl era. And as we always do, we will be doing that through the use of C-Score, this channel's metric for properly evaluating every team of the Super Bowl era rather than just going by its record. For a deeper explanation about how C-Score works, be sure to check out the description of this video. We went through every single regular season matchup in both the NFL and the AFL from 1966 to the present day. We combined the C-scores of the participating teams. The lower that combined number, the higher that matchup will rank. The one caveat here is that no team can be included in the top 10 twice. We will be highlighting some matchups that we left out toward the end of the video. Wanted to take a moment here to thank you for joining us today. Please do the whole YouTube thing. Like, share, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. Let's get started. Perhaps it's appropriate that we start off this list on Halloween Day. Specifically in 1999, this is during Week 8. The matchup here is between the New Orleans Saints and the expansion/reborn Cleveland Browns. The Browns entered this game seeking their first win at 0-7, while the Saints came in at a slightly better but still very bad 1-5. The combined C-score between these two teams sits at negative 65.95. The Saints are the better of the two. Their C-score is only negative 30.394, given that 3-13 record and terrible point differential. For Cleveland, it was a lot worse. They ended the year 2-14, last in scoring, third to last in points allowed, with their C-score of negative 35.556. However, the game itself was quite fun. The Saints took a 16-14 lead with a field goal with only 21 seconds remaining. That would seem to have given them the victory, but the Browns won the game in dramatic fashion with a 56-yard pass from Tim Couch to Kevin Johnson to give the Browns a 21-16 win. We head back a few years to 1973, and the only reason this game in Week 7 did not take place on Halloween is because Halloween wasn't on a Sunday. This October 28th matchup was between the Chicago Bears and the Houston Oilers. Chicago was the home team, and they already got a win this year, sitting at 1-5, while the visiting Oilers had not yet tasted victory, coming in at 0-6. The combined C-score between these two units is negative 67.013. The Bears, as far as terrible teams go, aren't so terrible. They're 3-11 here, and by 1 point missed being outscored by exactly 10 points per game. Their C-score of negative 24.192 does not do the heavy lifting. That belonged to the Oilers. They only won one game this season, getting outscored by almost 250 points in a 14-game season. Their C-score is negative 42.821. The Oilers would not be finding win number 1 in this game. Chicago took a 28-0 lead, cruising to a 35-14 victory. For our number 8 entry, we remain in the early 70s. This is the second to last week of the season in 1972. The matchup here is between the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots. This is the second time in the first 3 entries that we're getting a Saints home game. New Orleans was 2-9-1 entering this game. The Patriots half a game worse at 2-10. The combined C-score between these two anti-stalwarts is negative 68.908. The Saints were in the midst of being the absolute worst team of the 1970s, ending the year at 2-11-1, getting outscored by 146 points while putting up a C-score of negative 26.886. The Patriots are the single worst 3-win team that anyone has ever seen. Despite winning those 3 games, they found a way to get outscored on the year by 254 points, explaining their negative 42.022 C-score. Wasn't much to look at in this game. There were 5 sacks, 6 turnovers, and 8 penalties. 2 touchdowns by Patriots receiver Reggie Rucker gave New England one of their 3 wins by a score of 17-10. There sure were a lot of bad football teams during the early 70s. We check in at number 7 from the 1970 season, and a mini spoiler alert here, this is the only divisional matchup on this countdown. So we've got 2 games here, first from November 1st in week 7, the second one coming just 4 weeks later, November 29th in week 11. The matchup here was between the Buffalo Bills and the Boston Patriots, as they were known for the final season. That week 7 matchup saw the Patriots hosting at 1-5 against the 2-4 Bills, while the week 11 matchup was in Buffalo with the Bills at 3-6-1 and the Patriots at 1-9. The combined C-score between these two teams is of course a record for the lowest combined total between 2 divisional teams at negative 71.308. Despite being the better of the 2 teams here, Buffalo was bottom 5 in points scored, points allowed, and strength of schedule. Going 3-10-1 gave them a C-score of negative 30.762. New England, on the other hand, was just terrible. They may have played the 10th easiest schedule in the league, but they were last in scoring and points allowed, going 2-12, getting outscored by 212, and landing a C-score of negative 40.546. This first matchup was not close at all. Buffalo laid the smackdown, taking a 31-0 lead on the way to a 45-10 victory. But in the return matchup in Buffalo, the Patriots returned the favor, getting 4 sacks and 4 takeaways in a 14-10 victory. We said we would not use the same team twice, but we didn't say we couldn't use the same season twice. We're back with 2 brand new teams from November 2nd, 1972. This Week 9 matchup was between the Houston Oilers and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Oilers and their 1-7 record played host in this one, while the 1-6-1 Eagles were, like the Oilers, looking for win number 2 on the year. The combined C-score between these 2 teams is negative 71.502. And for once, it's not the Oilers who are the worst of the 2, despite their 1-3 record and despite being in the midst of one of the single worst 3-year runs in league history. Their C-score is negative 34.669. But just by a smidge, the Eagles come in worse. They ended the year with a negative 207 point differential, slightly better than Houston's, but they played a weaker schedule. Those subtle differences can make the tiniest differences in C-score, with Philly coming in at negative 36.833. As far as the game goes, Philly never once got into the end zone while allowing 2 touchdowns, but it was Tom Dempsey. Yes, this Tom Dempsey of New Orleans Saints lore that kicked 6 field goals to give Philadelphia an 18-17 victory. Let us now leave the 1970s and return to the edge of the 21st century. At number 5 was a game that took place during week 6 of the 2000 season on October 8th, and it once again involves the Cleveland Browns. This time their opponents are the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona's the home team in this one, and on the face of it, this didn't look like it would be a matchup between 2 all-time terrible teams, because Cleveland entered the game at 2-3, while Arizona entered the game at 1-3. But by the time all was said and done with the 2000 season, these two teams would combine for a C-score of negative 74.116. And just like our prior entry, these two teams were very close. The Browns were the better of the two, relatively speaking, by going 3-13 and getting outscored by 258 points, accounting for their C-score of negative 36.678. The Cardinals had the same record, a slightly better point differential, but only played the 20th hardest schedule in the league. That was enough to push their C-score down to negative 37.438. Cleveland was able to jump out to a 14-0 first half lead in this one, but the Cards took the lead back by halftime and went on to win by a score of 29-21. My immediate thought when putting together this list was that this game would be number one, or at least a candidate for number one. It took place in Week 17, the final week of the 1991 NFL season, and at the time was nicknamed the Super Bowl. This matchup is between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Indianapolis Colts. This could have been a matchup to see who was going to get the number one pick in the 1992 draft, but the Colts held the rights to the Buccaneers pick, so they were locked in to having the first two selections in that draft. Tampa was the home team year with their record at 2-13, while the Colts were at 1-14. The 27 combined losses between these two teams tied the all-time record for most combined losses between two teams in a single matchup. Funny enough, the Colts were involved in that one too in 1981 against the Patriots. The combined C-score here is negative 74.453. The Buccaneers were pretty bad this year. They got outscored by more than 10 points per game while managing a 3-13 record. Their C-score sat at negative 29.728. The Colts, however, were absolutely dreadful. This is the worst NFL team of the Super Bowl era that was not an expansion team. 1-15, minus 238 in point differential, the lowest scoring team in the league, third worst in points allowed, all while playing the fifth easiest schedule. That C-score sits at negative 44.725. Tampa Bay put up by far its best defensive performance of the season, overcoming a 3-0 deficit to win this game 17-3. We've gone back away for some of these matchups. Now for our number 3 entry, we go back to the very first season of the Super Bowl era. On November 20th, 1966, this Week 11 matchup was between the expansion Atlanta Falcons and the very, very bad New York Giants. The Giants hosted this game sporting a 1-7-1 record, while Atlanta was looking for its first ever victory, sitting at 0-9. The combined C-score between these two teams is negative 77.054. And despite being the expansion team in this matchup, the Falcons were the better team. They did go 3-11, getting outscored by 233 points while playing a middle-of-the-road schedule in a 15-team NFL. They put up a C-score of negative 36.883. It's the Giants that did it bad here, the single worst defense of the entire Super Bowl era. They finished 1-12-1 with a point differential that's 5 points worse than Atlanta's. Their C-score is negative 40.171. And for the second time on this countdown, we have an expansion team getting its first ever victory. In Atlanta's case, because they weren't being reborn like the Browns, it truly was their first ever victory. This was a lot less dramatic than Cleveland's win though. Atlanta took a 20-3 lead before holding on for the 27-16 victory. Matchups this bad are not supposed to happen in the salary cap and free agency era. But lo and behold, week 8, November 1st, 2009, the day after Halloween, we have this matchup that we had to watch with our own human eyes between the St. Louis Rams and the Detroit Lions. This game was in Detroit. The Lions were 1-5 coming off an 0-16 season, while the Rams were sitting at a lowly 0-7. The combined C-score between these two teams that had access to free agency and had to play under the same salary cap rules as every other team in the league was negative 78.483. The Lions may have gone winless the season before, but this season's 2 wins still equated to a worse team. They were outscored by 232 points, were worst in the league in points allowed, and only played a middle-of-the-road schedule. Their C-score is negative 35.545. On the other hand, we have the Rams, who only scrounged up 1 victory, were worst in the league in scoring, were second worst only to the Lions in points allowed, while playing one of the 10 easiest schedules in the league. This is the single worst team of the entire salary cap and free agency era, with their C-score of negative 42.938. The game itself saw the Rams pick up their only victory this season. It was a Steven Jackson touchdown with under 2 minutes to go, giving them a 17-10 triumph. Those teams at number 2 had no excuse to be on this list. At least our number 1 entry does have that excuse. This is October 17th, 1976. During week 6, we had the Expansion Bowl between the first-year Seattle Seahawks and the first-year Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Naturally, both teams entered this game in Tampa Bay at 0-5. It may be that these two teams had an excuse, but their combined C-score was more than 10 points worse than any other matchup on this list, coming together at negative 88.92. In Seattle's case, they won another game outside of this matchup this year, landing a 2-12 record with a point differential of exactly negative 200. Their C-score is negative 38.275. Tampa Bay did not win a game this year, going 0-14 and being outscored on average per game by exactly 20.5 points. This is the single worst C-score of the entire Super Bowl era, sitting at negative 50.645. And yes, we've already kind of spoiled the results of this game. Seattle was terrible, but Tampa was way worse. That said, this game was a nightmare. There were 35 accepted penalties out of 39 called for 310 total penalty yards. Seattle won the game 17-10, but every other living human being lost. There were 4 matchups that we wound up having to exclude from this countdown because they were duplicates of the, not surprisingly, 1991 Indianapolis Colts and 1976 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the Colts, it was their 2 divisional matchups with the Patriots, one from September, in fact week 1, and one from December, both won by the Patriots. And of course, because Tampa Bay did not win a game in 1976, their 2 matchups from this countdown that were excluded were losses. First in September to the Buffalo Bills, then another one in November to the we forget how bad they were New York Jets. Let me know what you think about all of this. I'm not sure any of these matchups would qualify as high quality games, but at least some of them were close. In fact, 7 out of 11 were decided by a single possession, 3 by an exact 17-10 score. So there's that. Yes, we will be doing the opposite of this list with the highest quality games as well. Be on the lookout for that video in the very near future. Was there a matchup here you were surprised to see? One you were expecting to see but didn't? Share your thoughts on this or anything else you may have on your mind down in the comments section below. As we have recently hit 5,000 subscribers, for which I am extremely grateful and thankful, we will be hosting a Q&A. So any questions you may have can be included in the comments of this video as well. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.